Hello, beautiful people, boys and girls, Raider fans alike. We're back. We're back, and it's 2025. New year, same Raiders, question mark? Well, we're going to discuss all that because we got 24 hours before the Raiders play their final game, Week 18 against the Chargers. The season did not go according to plan. Some decisions were made that were not good. We're going to discuss AP's future. We're going to discuss that report that Shedeur Sanders is not a first-round pick. We're going to talk about Aidan, and we're going to get to viewer comments from last week. So if you want your comments read out loud, questions answered, comment below. I'm going to pick out 2, 3, or 4, and we're going to read them. Make sure we're hitting that like button, subscribe button. If I didn't tell you, my name is Roddy. Thank you so much for coming back and watching another video. Look, I just want to start out by saying this. Another season is come and gone, and you guys continue to watch. I think this time last year, I had to have like 3,000 subscribers maybe. I don't know if there's a way to be able to figure that out, but we are now at like 11,200. That's absolutely insane. This is technically my first season full-time making videos consistently. Last year was, on and off. You guys have been pushing this channel out there, telling your friends, sharing it, subscribing, joining the Patreon, joining the Discord. All of that's linked in the description below. I just wanted to say thank you so much for continuing to watch. Seriously, it means the world to me, and I'm inching closer to be able to just doing this full time. Another announcement I'd like to make before we get into the first topic. I've been doing Bleacher Report live streams once a week after every game on Monday, or if we play it on, Monday, it'd be Tuesday. That's not happening anymore. I am now going live on Bleacher Report 2 times a week in the off season on Thursday and Friday for a half an hour each day up until next season. And then when the season starts, it's 3 days a week. That's right. They extended your boy. So with all that being said, I could not have done that without you guys initially watching my stuff, them finding me, and me being able to sign an extended contract with them. Not exactly an extended contract, but, we're not in the NFL here. We're not signing contracts. Mike Vrabel signing the Jets contract. All that to say, I'm going to be live twice a week on Bleacher Report. I believe it's 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Yeah, pretty exciting stuff. So there will not be a Monday recap on Bleacher Report. And by the way, those live streams on Bleacher Report will show up the next day on YouTube. So don't worry your little heads about that. All that to say, thank you so much for pushing me to get to this moment. We are going to continue full speed ahead. We got a lot to talk about. There are chapters below on the timeline where you want to, skip around and see different topics. But I think we need to discuss the most important thing. This game against the Chargers, is this Antonio Pierce's last game? Does it matter if we win this game, if we blow them out, blah, blah, blah? If I had to put money on it, I would say this is Antonio Pierce's last game. Now, the more I think about it, look, I am sad, and it's not just because I like Antonio Pierce or because he's a Raider fan and I wanted it to work and he was the interim and blah, blah, blah. A lot of it has to do with the fact that I don't think a lot of what went wrong this season was on him, although it still just doesn't feel right. There's something really off about the way he manages the games with or without all of his starters out there. The starting Minshew over Aidan thing is going to be studied for the rest of human existence. It still makes zero sense to me, and if he was pressured into doing it, he should have went right to the owner and said, dude, this is gonna cost us games if I'm forced to listen to the offensive coordinator and the GM. Because he's got all this vibrato, but then he coaches the game scared, and he makes scared decisions personnel-wise. And somebody asked him in a recent press conference, what did you learn about yourself this season? And he said pretty quickly, go with my gut, believe in yourself. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but that feels like he was thinking maybe I should have got rid of Getsy sooner, and I should have started Aidan off the rip. Now, to be fair to AP, he tried to pull the trigger after 5 games. He was like, we're going Aidan, and then Aidan gets hurt. Okay, you can't control the injuries. I just want to make myself clear. When I say that I think we need to move on from AP, it's not because I don't think that maybe if we stay the course, we can get to a competitive spot in the division. It's just that, in my personal opinion, there are better coaching candidates out there. And with that being said, it's time, folks, to rank my top 5 potential head coaching candidates for the Las Vegas Raiders. It's a moment you've all been waiting for. We're going to go 5-1 because we want to keep it a little bit of suspense. Is it Vrabel? Is it Ben Johnson? Is it a mystery candidate? Number 5, and just so you know, I'm starting at 5. So this is my 5th most favorite choice. This doesn't mean like I want this guy to be hired. If they hired him, I'm gonna be like, I don't know about this. There's not a lot of great head coaching options out there. However, there's a guy out there that's won a Super Bowl, that's led his team to multiple. A little bit older, but runs around like a 25-year-old. And his name is Pete Carroll. Guys, he's out there. I don't know if he'd be willing to take the Vegas job, but if we fire AP and we strike out on some higher candidates on my list here, Pete Carroll is a proven commodity that will get you to win enough games to at least have a competitive and entertaining season. He was able to pull off one of the better trades in recent memory, trading Russell Wilson, gaining back assets and picks, and Geno Smith is better than Russell Wilson. Pete Carroll knows how to motivate guys, how to push the right buttons. He's not my preferred choice. He's not in my top 4, my top 3, but he's definitely number 5. Number 4, young, up-and-coming offensive coordinator who squeezed every little bit of juice out of the post-Tom Brady Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that is Liam Cohen. This guy wasn't on my radar before this past season, but now with Baker Mayfield, I think he's 3rd in the league in touchdowns. And this is after Chris Godwin got hurt out for the season. This is after they put in this rookie running back that nobody's ever heard of called Bucky Irving. Liam Cohen absolutely knows what he's doing on offense. The reason why he isn't ahead of these other guys is because he hasn't done it on the biggest stages. He's done it well in the regular season, and in the playoffs they look okay. But I've seen these other guys coach at a high level, whether it's a position coach or a head coach, more so than Liam Cohen has. And it's risky to go offensive, young, meteoric rise guru in Liam Cohen when he isn't at the same level as these top 2 guys. The reason why I skipped 3 is because my 3rd choice to be the head coach is Antonio Pierce. I have Pete Carroll, Liam Cohen, and then I have my top 2, and then right in the middle is AP. I do think, I don't like to throw the word deserve. Nobody deserves anything, right? I do think you can make a compelling case that any of the good stuff that happened this season is because of Antonio Pierce. And any of the bad stuff is because of Gardner Minshew and Luke Getsy. And the idea that we got a lot of people hurt. And that even when the season's over, this team plays hard as hell for him. You can't deny that. So you can convince me that there is a world where Mark Davis and Telesco and Tom Brady go, let's run it back one more season with AP. And I would be disappointed at the idea of not getting these top 2 guys, but I would not be completely upset if we brought him back. And that is just me maybe preparing for the scenario in which they do that. But it's not all AP's fault. He wanted to hire Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff wanted a 3-year deal, but that was impossible because AP only has a 2-year deal. That's not AP's fault. He wanted to trade it for Jaden Daniels. They tried to get it done. The Commanders said, obviously not. That's not AP's fault. They wanted to draft Michael Penix. They thought Michael Penix would fall. There was an agreement between the Vikings and the Broncos and the Raiders. The Broncos will take Bo. We'll take Penix. The Vikings will take McCarthy. Falcons straight up. All hell breaks loose. Vikings straight up. It's a nightmare. All that to say, I do not think he'll be back next year, but if he is, I'm okay with it, although my number 2 and 1 options are my number 1 and 2 options. Number 2, and I go back and forth on these 2, and you guys know who it is, but number 2 right now, I'm just going to say Ben Johnson at number 2, only because Vrabel has won a Coach of the Year award. He's shown that he can run an organization at a high level and maximize his offensive and defensive talent. If we hire Ben Johnson instead of Mike Vrabel, I'll be going bananas. I'll be extremely happy. And I guess I'll talk about them both right now. Mike Vrabel and Ben Johnson. If you get one of these guys in the interview room, you cannot let them leave the building. I believe in my heart of hearts that Ben Johnson can be one of these next Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur type guys. We're going to be talking about the Ben Johnson coaching tree when it's all said and done. However, just because I believe it doesn't mean it's guaranteed to have happened. Mike Vrabel has quite literally shown how good he can be as a head coach, which is the only reason why I have him above Ben Johnson. But honestly, it's 1A and 1B. Now, people will say, Mike Vrabel needs a good OC. Well, he hired Matt LaFleur and Arthur Smith. They both got head coaching jobs. Then he struck out with Todd Downing. So he's 2 for 3 in finding those guys. I've already said Wes Welker and Josh McCown. Those are my 2 options. If Vrabel gets hired and he brings in Todd Downing, I'm going to be extremely upset, although I don't foresee that happening. I don't think Mark Davis would let that happen. I do think these are the 5 options that are most likely for the Raiders. I don't know if they're going to look for an Aaron Glenn. I don't know if they're going to look at a Todd Monken. John Gruden's name has been thrown out there. I just think that ship has sailed. I don't think he's a great evaluator of talent, and I don't think he'd be willing to let Telesco make the draft picks. But these are my 5 options right now. Pete Carroll at 5, Liam Cohen at 4, AP at 3, Ben Johnson at 2, Mike Vrabel at 1. Let me know your thoughts. I want to see your top 5s, and I'll read them next week, a lot of them. Now, look, Black Monday's coming up. Is there a world in which AP's just still the coach? I do think there's a chance. If I had to set the odds, if I had to set a percentage, I would say 35% chance he's the head coach. I would say, and I'm not trying to equate this to 100%. I'm just giving chances. I would say it feels like 65 to 70% chance that Vrabel's the next head coach. Ben Johnson feels in the low 30s. Liam Cohen feels like he's in the low 30s. Pete Carroll feels a little bit more likely than Liam Cohen, in my humble opinion, or even Ben Johnson. Seems like a Mark Davis hire. I just don't know if Pete Carroll will be interested in that job. But yeah, those are my top 5 head coaching candidates. We are going to get into Aidan O'Connell right now because there's an article on ESPN, Paul Gutierrez, that talks about his future with the team. Sorry, I'm just getting emotional. But before we do that, I need you guys to go to the link in the description below and check out my Patreon, patreon.com/ALLaBorde Raiders. It is similar to a YouTube membership program where you get a bunch of different benefits. You get your name at the end of the credits to become an executive producer, like these beautiful people right here. You get videos early, ad-free. You get exclusive content never before seen on YouTube. You get updates from the channel. You get all that goodness for a small fee per month. You could sign up limited time. You could cancel whenever you want. You can gift memberships a la Twitch or YouTube to other people if you want. Link in the description below. We just hit 26 members. Let's get to 30 before February. That's all I wanted to plug. Aidan O'Connell's future. There's a lot that's been said about Aidan. It feels like Derek Carr 2.0 in terms of the fandom. I've had my take on it. I think that he's an extremely accurate and cerebral player. I think the growth from last year to this year is noticeable. I think he's proven a lot of people wrong by how mobile that he's being. Am I saying he's Michael Vick? No. Obviously not. But when you say something nice about Aidan, it turns into, did you just say? No, I didn't just say. I said he's moving his feet better than he did last year. And I do think he makes throws that backup quarterbacks do not make. Again, am I saying that he's the next so-and-so? I'm not. But to say he's a backup, when we see what backups look like, Gardner Minshew, Desmond Ridder, Mac Jones, any quarterback for the Giants, any quarterback for the Browns, these guys stink. Terrible. Aidan O'Connell can come in and win you games. And I just think we lost out on a big opportunity here to see what he could have been this season, because there's a lot of games that we would have won if he had started the whole season. And I think people are starting to come around to the idea that maybe, just maybe, we could build around him. Not saying that that's going to be the case, but let's read this article that was posted 11 hours. I'm recording this on, well, it's going to be up the same day. Doesn't matter. Is Aidan O'Connell upending the Raiders' NFL draft plans? And again, like, this is a question that we're asking now because he didn't start the whole season. If he started the whole season, we would know. Anyway, Paul Gutierrez starts by saying Aidan O'Connell has seen this movie before. In fact, he starred in it. So forgive the second-year quarterback if deja vu has him feeling a certain way as O'Connell and the Raiders 4-12 head into the Sunday season finale against playoff-bound Los Angeles 10-6, who are playing the best football of the season. Especially with O'Connell's efficient play, essentially knocking the Raiders out of draft slots that would have allowed them to select the quarterback of their choosing without having to trade up. Last year, O'Connell threw for 8 touchdown passes without a single interception in the Raiders' final 4 games. The Raiders went 3-1 in that stretch. And by the way, last year, he beat the Broncos, he beat the Chargers, he beat the Chiefs. Now with the Raiders riding a season-best 2-game winning streak, wow. After they had dropped 10 straight, O'Connell has 2 touchdowns without a pick while completing 60% of his passes in those wins against Jacksonville and New Orleans. And here's what I'll say about that. People who don't like Aidan, not don't like Aidan, but don't want to see him be our quarterback go, he played against 2 really bad football teams really well. Are we just forgetting about the Chiefs game now? Are the Chiefs a bad football team? Do they have a bad defense? Is that an easy place to play in front of 40 million people on Black Friday? Are we just throwing that game out the window? But go off. Too little, too late, says Paul Gutierrez. Unfortunately, we continue to talk about that skid, O'Connell said on Wednesday. It was not ideal. It's frustrating. But at the same time, you try to enjoy the wins. You have to, and then you realize as I continue to say how hard it is to win, you just move on after that win. Celebrate it and then go on to the next game and do it. Okay. Plus, it's the first time this season the Raiders have gone 2 straight games without turning the ball over. But we started Gardner Minshew. Okay. Raiders coach Antonio Pierce preached throughout the season training camp that we cannot turn the ball over. Yes, obviously. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Going 5-4 down the stretch last season, including 3-1 in the AFC West with O'Connell at the helm, not only helped Pierce get elevated from his interim coaching spot, it helped kick the Raiders out of prime position to draft a quarterback. Okay, so we know all this. Let's talk about what's going on this season. This is what AP said, okay, about Aidan O'Connell. He's just a resilient player. It's kind of like what we saw last year. The more reps he gets, the more opportunities he gets, he makes the most out of them. And like I said, whenever he protects the football, he puts us in a better position. As a rookie, O'Connell started 10 of 11 games, which he went 5-5. He passed for 2,218 yards, completing 60% of his passes, 12 touchdowns, 7 picks, passer rating of 84. Again, if Bryce Young had these numbers, we'd be taking our pants off. Okay, this season he has started 6 games. He's gone 2-4 while passing for 1,400 yards, 62% of his passes, thrown 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, passer rating of 85. That's without Devontae and Josh Jacobs. Hollywood would tell you that very few sequels are as good as the original, especially if the storylines are so simple. And yet, Antonio Pierce was succinct when he asked if O'Connell had shown enough this season that he would be comfortable moving into next season with him as a starting quarterback. Pierce said, yeah, I think Aidan O'Connell will be a starting quarterback next season. It will be one of the more pressing issues for the Raiders this offseason. Do they move up in the draft to find that elusive franchise guy, or do they simply roll with O'Connell and build around him? O'Connell now has Las Vegas projected to have the 9th pick, and even if the Raiders' minority owner Tom Brady, who has already well-established relationship with Sanders, has the juice in the organization, it will be expensive. And this is a quote by O'Connell. Any game experience I can get is super valuable, so I'm just trying to take advantage of every rep, every situation, and learn from them. Success, failure, put them in the bank, and just try to grow. Here's my take on all this. Would I like to have Josh Allen? Yes. That dynamic franchise guy? Yes. And is Aidan that right now? Obviously not. I've said he's improved vastly. I was angry that he didn't start because I thought we would win more games with him, and I think that's pretty clear now. And the people who said that they were the same are starting to backtrack on that, and it's okay. We all make mistakes. I was wrong about Josh McDaniels. You guys are wrong about Gardner Minshew being better than Aidan. It is what it is. I do think his ceiling is like somewhat of a Jared Goff. And I think his floor is somewhat of a Trevor Siemian. And he might be somewhere in the middle of that. But I am telling you, last year with Devontae and Josh Jacobs, he went 5-4. Or 5-5 if you want to count the game that McDaniels coached with him. I guess I'll count it, 5-5. As a rookie 4th rounder with a not good offensive line. If you sign a T. Higgins and you draft a Genti, I feel another sneeze coming on. I keep fighting it off for you guys. The line is now solidified with Glaze and JPJ. And you have a Ben Johnson at the helm or of Vrabel. I'm telling you right now, there is a chance you can win 10 or 11 games with this guy. If Aidan O'Connell was on a healthy San Francisco 49ers, Kyle Shanahan would take him and walk to 10 wins. I think that's pretty clear. He makes the right decisions. He does not turn the ball over. He did in the Bucs game. He had some really bad throws. He had one really bad interception. I do think he hurt his leg like on the first drive and then tried to gut it out and couldn't really throw the football. But if you want to say that I'm making excuses, okay, I'm making excuses even though I'm telling you exactly what happened. I'm just mentally preparing people watching this like I did last season before it ended to be ready for this guy to be under center again and for him to get a full 17 games. And if then he doesn't work out, you do whatever it takes to trade up for whoever is the quarterback next year. Because if he's not as good as people say, we should be drafting pretty high. And I get you don't want to do another year of this, but this was supposed to be the year to find out what he has, and it wasn't that for whatever reason. And if AP is to blame for that, then he should be fired. But I don't know how many rookie quarterbacks coming out would be able to go into Arrowhead and throw for 340 and 2 touchdowns. Which smoothly transitions me into the Shedeur Sanders of it all. Because Pelissero's come out and said that there are teams in the NFL who do not have a first-round grade on him. I think that's a little crazy. I think if we were drafting 20th somehow, if we traded back to 20, we would take him and that would be great value. Now, I've said since day one I would be okay drafting Shedeur. I'd be excited. He's not my number one quarterback coming out. To me, it's Drew Aller. Now, I know he's not technically coming out. I just want to say this side note. There are reports that he might come out if they have a good run in the college football playoff. They're a game away from the Natty. I went to Penn State, so I'm obviously rooting for them. Everybody needs to be rooting for Penn State to get the national championship. Because if they get there, I think that means there's a serious chance that Drew Aller is coming out. And if he's coming out, I've heard from scouts that have their own channels that there's a chance that maybe he can go number 1 overall, which means either one of these quarterbacks then falls to us or maybe he doesn't go number 1, which means we can take him at 8. I think he has the biggest upside of anybody in this draft if he comes out. He will be the number 1 overall pick next year, him or Arch Manning. Shedeur Sanders would be my number 2 option. But after that, and even with him, I'm not really convinced. I think there's a chance I'd rather take Jackson Dart in the 2nd round than Shedeur with the 8th pick. I'd rather go like best player available in the 1st round and then Dart in the 2nd round than Shedeur in the 1st round at 8. But we'll see what happens with the combine because that's very important too. And we'll see how the interviews go. But Tom Brady has come out and said, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to read this article. Okay, I am. Tom Brady has come out and said, or I don't know if he's come out and said, but people have been saying that Brady has all but said Shedeur Sanders is his guy. And I want to find the quote right here. Okay. Multiple reports indicate that Raiders minority owner Tom Brady will have a say in the team's quarterback. So if the team does trade up for Shedeur, he'll likely have to sign off on it. And then this is Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports. From what I've been told about Brady's opinion of Sanders, which he has shared with a handful of NFL coaches and executives over the past 18 months, there's a great amount of respect for Sanders' focus on preparation, his ability to learn and adapt, his accuracy and determination in the pocket, and his toughness to take hits and be resilient. I've been told that Brady has also been impressed with Sanders, that Sanders has avoided the pitfalls of being thrust onto the center stage of college football's limelight after transitioning to Colorado to play for his father, Dion. He's also stayed in school for 4 years and developed, which is something Brady has reportedly, repeatedly, and publicly said he values in a young quarterback. Now, look, if Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback player of all time, is saying this and says we should draft him, trade up for Shedeur and draft him, then you know what? Who am I to say that he's wrong? If that's really what Brady believes, then we're fine. Then we're fine. If he falls to us, let's take him. If we have to trade up, let's go get him. From what I've seen, I prefer Drew Aller. But if he's not coming out, I'm all in on Shedeur. I don't really love what I see out of Cam Ward. Jalen Miller is a second-round prospect. Jackson Dart's a second-round prospect. Keep Aidan. Get a veteran in there to teach Aidan and Shedeur. If Shedeur stinks, we have Aidan that we can put in there. If we don't draft Shedeur, we go best player available, then we build around Aidan. But I do think that's the way to go moving forward. And I trust Tom Brady. There's no reason not to trust his opinion of these quarterbacks. We'll see if he's a good evaluator of talent, but as of right now, we don't have anything to go off of other than Gronkowski saying that he's the best talent evaluator he's ever seen. So only time will tell if Brady's good at this job. I'm going to assume that he is and trust the process with him and Tom Telesco. Okay, it's that time, folks. Viewer comments. If you want your comments read in the next podcast on YouTube, comment away. I'll be siphoning through, reading the ones that are most interesting to me, topics about this video specifically. Kalum, 510. I'm sorry if I'm reading that incorrectly. I gave you a bunch of different options there. He said, I really want Ben Johnson, but I would absolutely love Rabel-Welker combination. Then either get Dart or build around Aidan O'Connell and see how the season goes. Not saying Aidan O'Connell is our savior, but we still haven't put him in a position to know what we can do. Dart is better than Ward or Sanders. Jackson Dart had a really good showing in his bowl game. He's a decent athlete. I've seen him compared to Bo Nix and Carson Wentz. If you told me Bo Nix was going to be this good, I would have laughed at you. But I think the success of Aidan or Dart is contingent on the coach. So if we go Ben Johnson, I would love to go best player available and build around Aidan or Dart. If we go Vrabel, maybe Shedeur Sanders is the guy. Dwayne Thomas, 7984 says, somehow you don't think Pierce should have another year, but you praise the Lions head coach. He went 3-13 in his first year. AP messed up a ton, but he didn't pick Minshew. Telesco did. I'm more sure that he would have chose Aidan over him, but it boiled down to Minshew's contract. Potentially, Dwayne. I'm not saying that you're not onto something there. I will say the main difference between Dan Campbell and AP is that we've seen AP win a lot of games with a roster similar to this, and then we just transitioned to next year, and it got worse. Dan Campbell started bad with a bad roster and built upon that, right? It's not like Dan Campbell came in and had a lot of success and then took that roster and tried to build upon it, and then it got worse. Right? I think that's the difference between AP and Dan Campbell. However, I have AP ranked third of the 5 people that I would like to see coach the team next year. Thank you for the comment. Solomon Mitchell says, Rodney, there's no way on God's green earth that the Vikings are going to let Sam Darnold go after this season. I see them trading J.J. McCarthy. That's the last thing I wanted to touch on here. Oh, I would love Sam Darnold in the silver and black. And maybe they really screw up, or maybe they think that J.J.'s the guy and they just got to get rid of Sam. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to franchise him or he's going to sign a long-term extension there, which is really unfortunate. I wanted to touch upon J.J. McCarthy for one quick hot second here. I would not trade a first-round pick for him. Apparently, he's a very cerebral mind. It's just hard for me to wrap my head around the 6 quarterbacks that were drafted this year all being good, because I think Michael Penix is going to be good. Somebody has to be bad, right? And that's not great logic for me to say I don't want to trade for him, but it's just he didn't do much in high school or in college. He just didn't throw the ball. He went 10 for 18 for 150 yards in the national championship. He's a first-round talent. I just don't know. And then, one preseason game he gets hurt because he gets hit once. I wouldn't trade a first-round pick for him, but if we did, it'd be interesting. I don't know. Maybe bring in Josh McCown to pair with J.J. McCarthy. Interesting. What are your thoughts on all that? All that to say, thank you so much for watching another episode of whatever this is. I don't really have a name for it. Thank you for coming back and watching another video. Comment away. Black Monday is coming in a few days. Going to be making videos whether or not AP gets fired. I think it's going to happen, unfortunately so, but that means that we have a chance to get Vrabel or Ben Johnson.